Welcome back to the Peptides for Women podcast. I'm Jennifer Woodward, and I'm so excited to have Dayna Whitman on the show today. Dayna and I have known each other for many years. We started off as a client practitioner relationship, and now she's just my friend. She's really cool, and I'm so excited for you to hear her story. I like to highlight stories here on the podcast that aren't just weight specific. And Dayna has a lot going on with her health and introduced peptides recently to help reduce inflammation. I'm going to let her tell the story, but it has been so encouraging to watch, and I want you to hear it from her. So, Dayna, welcome to the show. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
You. I'm happy to be here. Always happy to help out Jennifer. Jennifer and I, like she said, have been friends for many years. Started out as my nutrition coach. I've had a long history of back issues. Just a very convoluted history of back issues since I was a teenager, actually. And then as I got older, things kind of my back would do this thing where my back would go out and I would be down flat for days on end. Well, so I started really exploring because I'm I trust medicine to a certain extent, but I'm much more a person who wants to do it the natural way if I can. Feel like everything's over medicated. I feel like most doctors, when you go, they want to just put you on something and send you out the door. And sometimes it helps, and sometimes it doesn't. So I started with Jennifer, really exploring because I was noticing that I was having a lot of food sensitivities. I would eat dairy or I would have a bowl of cottage cheese, and lo and behold, my back could go out. So I was like, okay, there's got to be something related here. So I went to Jennifer for help. She ran a bunch of tests and we came up with kind of a plan. Well, since that time, my back journey has continued to evolve. Oh, by the way, I should say I'm 60 years old. Um, and mother of three, grandmother of nine, just unbelievable. 9 under 9. So that's exciting and fun. So I'm pretty active, pretty in shape, have always, been really active, always worked out and done things to keep myself fit. And, I'm not crazy about it, but just kind of, whatever I have to do. So, probably been 5 or 6 years, and my back kind of took a real turn. I was noticing that when I was driving to work, I could not get comfortable in my car seat, and a lot of back issues. Long story short, ended up at a rheumatologist who did some blood work, ended up diagnosing me with ankylosing spondylitis, which I kind of laughed at the diagnosis because I'm like, is that even a real thing? It sounds really strange, But what that is an inflammation arthritis that kind of attacks your spine and other joints. So again, went back to Jennifer. Talked to Jennifer, about, how can I knock down this inflammation? I got to get rid of this inflammation. We've worked together on diet, on all these things. Well, then the peptides were discovered, and I am on a biologic medication called Taltz. And Taltz is something that basically suppresses your immune system, which I don't like, because ankylosing spondylitis, or AS, it's like your immune system just revs up and over attacks your joints. So what that does is it suppresses the immune system, but it also suppresses your immune system. So I go on a plane and I'm sicker than a dog. I do, all the things. So my ultimate goal would be to get off of the biologic. Tough to do because I've gotten a lot of relief from it. It knocked down some inflammation, did some things. Well, when I started I always follow what Jennifer's doing on Instagram. So I started hearing her talking about peptides. So both my sons, super fit and athletic. My daughter is too, but they all are. My oldest son was hearing a lot about peptides too. So we started kind of chatting about it. And BPC 157 is the one that I talked to Jennifer about. I said, would this possibly help the inflammation? You said, well, let's give it a go. So we gave it a go. And I'm happy to report, like, normally Taltz is every 28 days. So getting towards the end of that 28 days, I would be in pretty bad shape. My back would be killing me. I'd get up in the morning, I'd have to ice. My knees would hurt when I would walk. Mine is a little bit different with AS. Some people just get it in the spine. I have it in the SI joints, knees, feet. I get it everywhere. So when I'm inflamed, I know it because it's everywhere, not to mention my face. I'll look in the mirror and go, uh-oh, I need to take some anti-inflammatories or something. I'm very inflamed. A lot of times diet related. So I started with the BPC 157, and the very first thing that I noticed was that when I got to the due date of my Taltz, in fact, I had to look on my calendar to see when I was due for my Taltz, because it's like, wait a second, I'm due in 2 days and I feel really good. So that's super exciting to me because it's one step closer to getting off the biologic. So then I followed the peptide podcast and follow all the peptide information that she gives us, and did my own research on peptides, and started to see that a lot of people, I follow an AS group, and I noticed some people posting questions, and we all kind of try to help each other out because everybody's battling the same thing. And in the chat was someone said, I'm trying a GLP-1 to knock down the inflammation further. And then I even saw one that said that there is a Taltz and GLP-1 trial going on. And I'm thinking, well, wait, I could be part of the trial. I could be getting it for free, right? But, so I didn't, but it's going on. So there's a lot happening like around peptides and stuff. So super exciting. So I talked to Jennifer. Now I'm not overweight. My weight, I went through menopause and obviously struggled with weight and all those things, but my weight is fair. It's not really an issue. As everybody, you got a little weight around the middle, you have a little weight here or there, but weight isn't a super big issue for me. Food noise is a super big issue for me. So the cleaner I can keep my diet, the better I feel. So I talked to her about the GLP-1 because I didn't really want to lose weight. I just wanted to knock the inflammation down further. So you said, basically, you can give it a try. You microdose it so that it's not going to make you lose a bunch of weight or anything else. It's just going to help with the inflammation. So about 4 weeks ago, I started, in addition to the BPC, I started the GLP-1 at a microdose. First couple of weeks, it was a struggle. I just kept trying to eat. It killed my appetite fairly well. And the question to me was, how do people take like a regular dose of this stuff? I would never be able to eat. But I was able to, last week, I even took it down a tiny click more, and great. I'm able to eat. I'm able to eat cleanly. The thing that I would say it changes my appetite, the biggest part, is sugar. I do not want to eat a bunch of sugar, which has always been an issue for me. And it's a huge issue for me with inflammation. So there's my background. It was supposed to be short, but it wasn't short. So, that's how I am.
I love it. I think everyone has a pretty good idea of what's going on with you. I mean, sort of start to finish. Now, it's been years for us. So obviously there's a lot more going on behind the scenes beyond just what you were talking about here. But, in a nutshell, that's what you've been struggling with over the past, 5 years? How many years have you been on the Taltz?
I've only been on the Taltz probably maybe a year. Before that, I did Humira.
That's right.
And it wasn't super effective. But there
Mhm.
again, it's always been really hard for me to keep my diet really clean. I love a good candy or a good chocolate. I love my carbs, and they're all processed carbs. Like, I love chips, or I love, Cheetos, and I am pretty good about staying on the straight and narrow. I am. but I'm not perfect with it. And not that I'm ever going to be perfect with it, but the cleaner I can keep my diet,
Mhm.
the better the result. My rheumatologist says the same thing. She had originally told me, you will not control this with diet, Dayna. You will not. You need to go on these drugs. And at the time, I was in so much pain. I was like, okay, I guess I do have to go on these drugs. But the voice in my head and my Jennifer voice was telling me, yes, you can control a lot with diet. So keep going down that road, which I did. And I feel like I'm in such a good place, such a good place. Um, so I'm like sold, because my ultimate goal is to get off of the biologic.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm going to have one more lab done
Mhm.
with my inflammation markers, because I had my labs done right before I started the peptides, which is good because then I can really put them side by side and see where they are. My labs include like mostly inflammation markers for the AS.
Which I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait to see those labs. And you just telling me, that story even before we hopped on the podcast and reiterating it to the audience that you were having a hard time. You would basically limp into your 28-day injections of the Taltz, thinking like,
Yes.
I'm just so inflamed. I'm so in pain. And not even realizing that the date was coming up for that injection this last time must have been incredible. I mean, so
It is
exciting.
incredible. I thought, okay, do I push it off a week? And then I thought, no, I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing because I feel really good. So I stayed with the 28 days,
Yeah.
but that might be my next move,
Hmm.
is to just try and decrease, back it up a little bit and see. Because I've always felt like, yes, the Taltz helps for sure. It's such an autoimmune, it's such a hard thing. It's
Oh, yeah.
very difficult because you don't, and I'm the kind of person, and you know this, I always try 10 things at once.
That's why we love each other, Dana.
My
That's
my
what I do
husband,
too.
my husband is all the time, Dayna, do one thing and then wait a week. I can't do it. If I'm in pain or I'm suffering, okay, got to change these 10 things and then I'll go back and try and narrow down what it is.
Well, I think there's a reason you do that too. So you said if you're in pain, you'll try 10 things. For most people, the average Jane, if they eat some candy, they eat some Cheetos, they might feel bloated and puffy. They might have a headache. They might put on a half a pound. For you, for someone with a debilitating autoimmune disease, you see it and feel it right away. So you do have
Yes.
more of a drive, to eat clean, to really keep your diet on point, which you've done beautifully for the past like 8 or 9 years, like, ever, since we've known each other. But there still comes a point when, you're hungry or you're
Yeah.
tired or you're bored or you're lonely or the Cheetos are sitting there. And
Yeah.
so
Those
I think
Cheetos.
damn those Cheetos.
Damn those Cheetos.
So,
Yep.
so having just the extra benefit, I think, of the food noise is something that I wanted to dig into with you. Because again, I'm
Huge.
looking at you. The audience can't see you. You're petite. You're fit. You're thin. You're like you aren't the average person who might have gone on a GLP-1, 20 years ago when they were first investigating these drugs for type 2 diabetes. You live a fit lifestyle, so you don't look unhealthy. But deeper down, there's a lot of inflammation going on. There's a debilitating autoimmune disease, and there's the food noise in your head. So, talk to me a little bit about the etiology of the food noise, how long it's been there, some of the struggles you've had with it,
Mm.
some of the outcomes, and how that changed once you started experimenting with the tirzepatide.
I don't even know if you know my food noise issues, but when I was young, I struggled with an eating disorder. Um, my family, going back to my family of origin, was very, I just have a long history of food issues. When I was a kid, I didn't want to eat anything. I swear I lived on sunflower seeds until I was 10. And I'm really not joking. Like, my grandma used to just be like, she has to eat more than those nuts. I remember her saying that. Um, I just, I don't know. I've struggled with food issues. Now, in my teens, really had a breakdown with the food issues, as a lot of people do in those years. I went into some therapy, got over my eating disorder. I wouldn't say I have had a relapse of my eating disorder. I would say that I'm very, very pretty content with food. Like I dealt with the issues and I moved on. Now, that's not to say that there is not the food noise in my
Mm.
head. Um, Not that I'm not a calorie counter. You kind of got me, like, you got me to a point where I saw food more as trying to nourish myself, trying to take care of myself, and especially with all the health issues that I've had, um, food is key for me. So I've had to force myself to eat the clean diet, to do all the things that I have to do, to count my protein grams, because I tend to be a carb eater. I tend to go, a bowl of, corn chips with a little bit of meat sprinkled on the top, that counts, right? So I have to watch myself that way. Um, but I've been able to do it because the motivation with the AS is so strong. Because if I don't stay fairly clean with the diet, I'm pretty miserable. I have a difficult time with my knees, which makes walking. I walk every day. I walk about 3 to 4 miles every day. Um, Makes walking difficult because my knees are killing me. When I get out of bed, have to ice my back because my back is killing me. And I'll know, and this isn't to say that I won't go to a restaurant, or I won't go, it's difficult to clean eat in a restaurant because there's so much junk in the food everywhere. So, um, definitely having the food noise turned down has been life changing because I just don't have to think about it. I just go, okay, I'm going to get up. I have a food plan for the day. I have a really good, it's a bone broth. I found a great protein, by the way. It's a bone broth protein because I don't do dairy. I can do a tiny bit of dairy, but not a lot of dairy. So I do a bone broth protein shake. That's how I start the day. It's about 40 grams of protein. It's how I start the day, which really gets me through. Well, then every meal that I eat, because I'm not being ruled by the cravings all the time, that would be the one thing I would say. I would eat to my cravings, and my cravings are always the same: carbs and sugar. And as I can get away from those, you crave less carbs and sugar. You know how it's like a snowball effect. So it's the GLP-1 has just been life changing in the way that I'm able to not eat the things that I shouldn't eat. I'm able to go, nah, I have to eat. Obviously I have to eat and I want to eat. So I need to pick something that I should be eating. So that has been life changing for me.
I have definitely felt the same way. I like to talk about the fact that it makes me hungry for normal foods at
Yes.
normal times, like a
Yeah.
normal person.
Yeah.
And the more I do this, the more I don't know if normal exists,
Right.
honestly.
Right.
But what I would theoretically think, some of my friends who've never struggled with any food issues,
Right.
they've never had any health issues in their background, or moderate health issues, but certainly not regarding food or weight. And it makes my brain feel normal, which I really love. It's a gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a gift
Hmm.
because I mean, it doesn't alter you really in any other way.
No.
Like, it isn't like, weight is falling off of me or anything. Like, I wasn't at, when I started the GLP-1, I wasn't at a weight that I wanted to lose weight. I'm already where I want to be. So it was actually a little bit of a concern the first week or two because I'm like, I'm going to lose weight. I don't want to eat. I'm just, I'm forcing myself, but I didn't really want to eat. I think finding that exact
Hmm.
dose for yourself is huge. And mine was just a hair under where they told me to be. And if I stay that hair under, then it's just easy. Everything is just easy.
Yep, it's almost like it's a non-issue. And I love that
Yeah.
you were able to experiment yourself and be your
Mm-hmm.
own advocate and figure out, okay, this isn't exactly working for me yet, so let's tweak it a little bit.
Right.
And lo and behold, things evened out and you are feeling
Yes.
great.
Yes.
I do want to talk a little bit, Dana, about some of your foundations because I reiterate on the podcast all the time. Listen, this isn't a podcast that just tells you to go source and inject. I need to make sure as a practitioner that you are having your bases covered, your foundations are in place, or you are not going to be optimized enough to be a success story on peptides. And that's what I want for you. I
Right.
want you to feel great on peptides. And so
Right.
let's talk about some of the non-negotiable foundations. You've mentioned a couple already of what you are doing to kind of lock in your health, your basic health before you even added in the peptides.
So what I do to make myself feel optimized before the peptides. That's
Right. Like some of the, I mean, you mentioned them,
okay.
like you walk 3 to 4 miles a day. You're trying to get
Okay.
your protein in, kind of those sorts, like things we did in the
Okay.
program, basically.
Okay, yeah, I walk every day. I have an elliptical machine in my garage, which I love because I can walk on it or I can kind of jog on it. I've always been fit. I used to, when I was younger, I was a runner. And now I see people running and I want to just grab onto them and say, don't do it. Your knees are going to not thank you later. Like, but I've always been in good shape. I've always been fit. And I think that that is huge. I think that you still have to do those things. I don't think that you can just inject a peptide and not do all the things that you have to do. Um, so let's see. Sleep. Sleep is key for me. I have an aura ring, okay, which my husband just teases me about all the time because, well, now he has one too, but he's just bitter because he can't compete with me in the sleep department. So I always tell people, I excel at sleep. Okay. When I first met Jennifer, I did not excel at sleep. I was miserable. I was menopausal, probably maybe perimenopausal, maybe kind of in that transition right there. And didn't sleep because I was busy getting up at 4 a.m. to work out as hard and as sweaty as I could. Because you can't gain a pound. You got to be fit and you got to be good. So I have to get up before work and work out hard. Okay. Nowadays, I lift weights. I'm trying to get better. Excuse me. I'm trying to get better about lifting weights. I don't love lifting weights, but I'm trying, okay, because I know it's important to maintain the muscle mass. So trying to do some weights at least 3 times a week. Walk every day. I just don't ever take a day off. I get probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12,000 steps a day. That's just my normal day. I go on my walk and then I'm active all day with grandkids and things anyway. So, what else do I do? I cook. I love to cook. So I cook pretty healthy. Um, my walk gets me out in the sun, so that helps. I get an hour in the sun at least minimum in during the day. What else do I do? It's so diet related for me
Hmm.
that just staying good on the
Yeah.
diet, sleep, and moving.
Yeah.
That's
Easy.
it.
There you go.
It's not that hard. It's
And
just
yeah, it doesn't have to be more complicated. Locking in those basics it's going to get you a long way with your peptide
right,
journey for sure. So you're already living a lifestyle that is anti-inflammatory in nature. It's not going to be perfect. So you do have an autoimmune disease, but you've mitigated a lot of the inflammation by dialing in your diet, cutting out the dairy, getting more protein, making sure you're hitting your fiber, eating more food too for you for a period of time. We had to get you eating, more food. And
right,
then your walks, you said you don't miss a day, 3 to 4 miles a day. That's impressive. And getting the sun while you're out there, living a
right.
lifestyle where you're connected, you're with your family, your grandkids. You are a great candidate for adding in peptides. And so seeing that your journey has so far been successful and you're excited about it and seeing where it might go because you're just kind of getting started is very, very exciting, I think. And it's not like you're going to stop doing all the basics.
Right. No, I don't think if I stopped the basics, the peptides would be as effective. I mean, I don't know that, but I would guess not. Um, the peptides just, I mean, it makes it easier to get out on my walk because my knees aren't killing me. And it makes it easier to say yes to the right foods because I'm not just like craving those chips and wanting that sugar. So I would more say that the peptides dial it in for me to a really good place. Like I haven't felt this good. I probably haven't felt this good in 10 to 15 years,
Praise the Lord. I
which
love
is
it.
really exciting. You know, if the more like there was a time where when I first was diagnosed with AS, and I would, it's just my nature. I got to research it all the way. I got to figure out what, I have to look at studies. I have to see what's coming because I don't want a surprise. And what was coming isn't good. I mean, people are really debilitated with this disease. It's not a joke. And so I set out to go, okay, what I have to be doing everything I can do. It's going to run its course likely. Um, Although I have to say, I think with a lot of autoimmunes, I think you're way more in control than you think you are. I think that people like to go, well, I have this autoimmune, or I have, you know, doctors like to say, okay, it's only medication. That's your only route. That's what you've got to do. And I respect doctors. I do. I love my rheumatologist. She's awesome. But I got to do my own thing and I've got to do my own research because she's not going to be there when I'm 70 and can't get up. So it's like I have to be able to advocate for myself and figure out for myself what are all those things that I can do. And I feel like a peptide, you know, supplement, for lack of a better word, is a great thing. My son is a black belt in jujitsu, owns his own jujitsu gym, and is very, very successful. He has some nagging injuries. He's been doing really hard physical, exercise for a long time. And he has just started on the BPC 157 because the guy that he was in Hawaii, is moving over from Hawaii, and is opening a gym here. He had one in Hawaii and they're moving back here. Yay, two more grandkids in the midst. But the guy that he's opening the gym with is a very, very successful MMA fighter and trainer. And when my son went to meet with his new partner, the partner, he was talking about some injuries that he has, and the partner said, well, are you doing BPC 157? And my son's like, no, I'm not. So he comes home and he starts talking to me about this. And I said, look at what I've got here, Garrett. So I'm showing him, and he's just like shaking his head. He goes, I can never be ahead of you, Mom. Like, what is going on? And then my other son, who's also physically active down in Texas, talked to me the last time I was there about the peptides and things that you can be doing. So I feel like I have so many, my kids are very invested. I think they don't want to have to take care of me. I think that's what it is.
Smart kids and smart mama for taking care of herself. Oh my goodness, that's great. Well, I love the fact too that more people are getting turned on to peptides and what they can do for the body besides just weight loss. Again, that was the first iteration of
Right.
peptides. People were wondering about Ozempic and GLP-1s and what's going on with weight loss, but that just scratches the surface of what peptides can do. The research just showing us that yes, you can lose weight. Like they were first developed for type 2 diabetics, and the side effect was weight loss, which is great. But the research also shows us that inflammation markers are coming down, cardiovascular markers are coming down, neuroinflammation markers are coming down. It is fascinating to me. And I
Yeah.
love the study that you brought up too, Dana. This study that's going on with Taltz plus GLP-1 GIP. So it's with tirzepatide, the microdose that you and I are taking, and specifically for psoriatic arthritis and plaque psoriasis. So debilitating diseases as well, especially psoriatic arthritis. I have plaque psoriasis, so that is something I am usually able to keep under control if I stay off eggs, coffee, and a lot of red meat. Have to be really careful with some of those.
Okay.
And that sucks. Like it's not easy to do. I mean, traveling can have coffee. Alcohol really messes with my gut, which makes my psoriasis worse. So over trial and error, I've learned what to do to not have, psoriatic breakouts. But that combination for for people who have basically failed biologic. Like we talked about the fact that you did Humira
Hmm.
for a period of time. I have
Hmm.
a lot of clients with autoimmune disease, a lot of clients on methotrexate, a lot of clients on Humira,
Okay.
and some of them experience some remission of symptoms, but none of them are actually cured of the disease, and not all of them experience the remission of symptoms. And so
Right.
the opportunity that some people have to layer in this other really powerful anti-inflammatory, especially for people who are, unlike you, my friend, overweight. That's what this trial specifically looking at are overweight people who failed a biologic. Now we're trying the biologic Talt specifically with the GLP-1 GIP. Let's see what happens. And the study's not, hasn't even started yet. Definitely isn't over, but I think there are going to be some really exciting results that come out of that.
Yeah, I had a lot of people in my group, in the AS group, were talking about how they had gone on a GLP-1 because carrying extra weight on your joints obviously is not ideal when you have a joint disease. It's not ideal. So they had gone on the GLP-1 and noticed a huge reduction in their symptoms. So that's where it all got going. My original intent was to only do the BPC 157 because I always just associated GLP-1 with someone who needs to lose weight. I do. So I thought, well, I'll do the BPC 157. We talked about it after I had done the last round of labs with you. And I went, I'm going to give it a try because it's the inflammation that's the issue. So I'm going to give it a try. And then I felt like it was so good. Then when I saw this thing on the GLP-1, I thought, well, what if I layered in the both of them, knock the inflammation down even further, and just see how I feel. See if it doesn't work for me, I just go off of it. But I'm super excited about how it's going. I mean, I want to check out the other ones.
I know it's the peptide slippery slope. I think I'm on like five. I'm like, oh boy, I don't know if I can
Yes.
afford all this long term, but it's
Yes.
just,
Yes.
you feel better and better and think, gosh, why didn't I start these, 2 years ago, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago? I'm so thankful that this opportunity is here now. I really
Yeah.
am, and
Yeah.
I hear the
So am
same
I.
thing from, yeah, everybody I talk to.
But I didn't know anything about it until you started talking about it. So I think people don't know. I think people are like me and they're thinking, oh, GLP-1, well, I'm not 40 pounds overweight. So I can't really go on that, or I don't really need to go on that. Or what are even these other ones? I'm curious about NAD now. I'm curious about a lot of things. I'm curious about a lot of different things right now because of the way that I feel. These don't make you feel any way except better, you know? So I was afraid, I think I loved your post. It was like, what is it, the 5 stages of peptide,
Yep.
confusion?
Yes.
And I went through every single one of them. So it's like, originally you're like, oh, that's cheating. Well, cheating. If I'm going to feel good, I'll cheat all day long. You know, Give me the cheat. I'm not above it.
Oh my goodness. Yep, all the way down to stage five, which is why the F didn't I start this sooner?
Yeah. Why didn't I know about this sooner?
Hmm.
Which is
Yep.
always the question, as we're
Mm.
becoming more and more awake to the medical things going on. You know what I mean? I think that it's always medication. It's always, push this or push that. And I was at a doctor for help, and I thank goodness for the help she gave me. But I feel like there's so much more out there that you can try. And I don't think people realize that. So I'll be chiming in my AS group about what's going on over here, and people need to know that there's other avenues because the immunosuppressant drug that I'm on, it's real. Like, I don't want to live on that for the rest of my life, but without other things and without, what are the odds that I'm going to be okay if I don't?
It's a very real question to ask yourself. And on one hand, gosh, I'm so thankful for drugs that help. I'm
Yeah.
thankful for
Yes.
pharmaceuticals and thankful for doctors. On the other hand, we ought to be advocates for ourselves. And like you did, dig into the research, talk to other people who are going through the same thing, figure out what you can do to help the process in the time being. 'Cause that's our job as caretakers of these bodies, is
Right.
not just to blindly believe everything that's told to us. And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate and having so much fun with this podcast and education and my practitioner course, because people don't know and they need to be educated. They need to know because the peptide revolution has started. It is coming. And
Yes.
and we want to make sure that people have the best possible information out there. But don't take my word for it or Dana's word for it or anyone's word for it. Go educate yourself. Look at some of the
Hmm.
studies that are out there right now. Look at other people that are going through their journeys. We have Dana now here who's been going through autoimmune issues for years. We had Selena Abel on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, going through 4 years now on a GLP-1 GIP. So we can see that not only are these safe, but they're efficacious for, years and years. Obviously, that's just a single case study, but the research is there as well, showing that people have been using peptides for a long time with very minimal side effects, maybe some redness around the injection site, like Dana said, reduction in appetite for a period of time that once she took her dose down, leveled out. Peptides are simply proteins. They're biosimilar components to what the body is already making. And so while there can be side effects, as with anything else, I tell people
Right.
you take too much magnesium, you're going to poop your pants. You don't have the right peptide combination, or you're not dialing
Right.
in your foundations. You could have issues. You've got pre-existing liver issues, pre-existing cancer. Obviously, don't take peptides. Be an advocate and also be wise with your peptide journey. But if you're optimized, not even perfect. Dana has autoimmune disease. You don't have to be perfect, but if you're working on the foundations like she is and you are educated like she is, it's not unreasonable for you to start small with your little peptide journey and then be like Dana, now it's snowball. She's like, "Oh, give me all the peptides."
Yeah. Now I'm like a junkie, a peptide
What's
junkie.
next? I know. It's great. I stopped buying purses. I just buy peptides. It's fine.
You know what? It's a lot better. Carry one purse. Don't don't
Yeah.
don't sweat the purses. Do the peptides.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so great. All right, Dana. Do you have any closing thoughts for our audience?
Um, I would just say, like you said, look into it. Think about what your specific needs are. What is going on with your health? Fix what you can fix yourself with your health, which pretty much food, moving, sun, all the things that you just have to do to feel better, sleep. Um, but don't be afraid to try it. Like that would be my advice to people. Don't be afraid to try it. I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. When I first tried the BPC, I thought, what if I have some reaction to it, or what if you're a little bit afraid. Um, but they've done nothing but good for me. I don't feel any different. I just feel better. So give it a whirl. It's what have you got to lose? Give it a whirl. That's my closing thought.
So fun, my friend Dana. It is always a pleasure to get to spend time with you, listen to your wisdom, hear your voice. You are just one of my favorites. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell your story to the audience.
I appreciate everything you've done. I mean, you've opened my eyes to a lot of things, but this might be the best one. This might be the best one you've done yet.
That is great. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today on the Peptides for Women podcast. I hope you've enjoyed Dana's story, and we look forward to seeing you next time.